Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer. Welcome back to FM24 Youth Factory. It's episode 69. We begin this episode in the off-season with improved finances for the coming year. The only benefit that we saw in finances from League One to our championship promotion last season was the increased broadcast revenue. We actually had a decrease in match day commercial, probably because the team wasn't performing terribly well over getting automatic promotion the year before. Competition prize money also saw a massive hit as we went from promotion to staving off relegation and, not doing particularly well in any special place. So between those two, we lost almost $500,000. We did see a small increase in our corporate and hospitality as attendance was up. Moving into the new stadium, of course, sponsorship did see a little bit of an increase with $100,000 more than the year before, but it was that broadcast revenue, right? Really picked up. We went from $500,000 to $3+ million. But in the coming year, positive signs are coming as we have a new main sponsor, 2-year deal, up $70,000 from the old deal. We also have 6 new general sponsor deals for nearly $300,000. So we're seeing an increase of about $350,000 starting out already for the coming season. And of course, that broadcast revenue should be about the same. And if we are improving our position, the match day will come back up. The competition prize money, well, I don't expect that one to be high, but the corporate and hospitality should be higher. So across the board in general, there's going to be a little bit more money coming in this next year. It's a good start. I've been unable to find any improved staff members, literally at any position, so everyone is coming back for another year. This is our head of youth development. He, the assistant coach, James Harper, and myself are all headed off to our next coaching course. So he is currently studying for his Continental B. That should help him pick up at least a little bit. He's fairly good overall. He's got that 19. He's got 15s. The attribute distribution is nice. Personality is fairly loyal, which impacts the personality of the youth and their development. The double formation set determines what they come in as positionally. So that's kind of an important piece to find somebody who somewhat matches your play style. Otherwise, you're going to have to retrain everyone. But the big piece where he falls a bit short is his reputation is only 2 stars. It's not great. It's minimal. Of everyone that I looked at, I could have taken a lesser individual who did have 3-star reputation. That was a possibility for us, but it would have been a decrease in attributes. It would have been the wrong play style. Personality was good, but I decided against it. I decided instead to try to just boost up Bennett that little bit more. The longer he stays with us, the better that reputation gets, I suppose. Let's hit up a little end-of-season review. Wilkinson went to Stoke for $12 million, where he was quite active and had a good season. Tom Evans to Pontypridd, and Jack Barlow went to Shrewsbury, all getting a lot of game time. Mixed performance. It was Sheffield United who won the promotion playoff for the 3rd promotion spot to the Premier League. Of course, that's a huge payday for that one. Millwall, with their 12-point deduction at the end of the season, would have been relegated anyway. They did, at the very, very end, with draws, losing less often, eclipsed Charlton in terms of actual points earned by a whopping 1 point. Harsh on Birmingham City to go down on goal differential and literally just being a win away from the relative comfort of 19th, a few spots above the drop. Awfully close at the bottom. The first gap of more than a win is us, and we are gapped on either side. We really fell into the no man's land of mid-table mediocrity, and really Everton was the mid-table mediocrity, where we fell in the next level below before you then had the more drop off into teams that struggled. And we struggled. We were dead last for quite a while until Millwall got that points deduction and dropped below us. We spent a lot of time in 23rd place. We spent a lot of time this season in the relegation zone, and we improved, obviously. And the training and the youth and the potential of our players did help carry us through. However, it's not like we were flying high at the end of the season, but it does bring the optimism that this next season could certainly be better for us. 6,600 for the average home attendance. That is just tiny compared to everybody else. Let's hope that can get to 8,000 this next season. We really need the financial boost that can come from that. But you can see just how much we struggled in the early portion of the season. From August to November, we didn't score a single win. And that first win was Derby County, who at the time was number 1. They did finish number 3, but that was a shock surprise win, and it really got things going because you can see we went on quite a run shortly thereafter, and we never dropped off to where the beginning of the season was. But that's why I also said we never looked great either. We were very average second half of the season, and outside that run, oh my gosh, that saved us big time. I think we were 15th by the end of that run. But if we can do without this first, quarter, first third of the season next year, and can pick up where we kind of left off and be average, I think we'll have no problem finishing somewhere between 10th and 13th next year. FA Cup, we got knocked out in the third round by Brentford, which is literally where we come in, but we also drew Brentford, Premier League, bigger mid-table Premier League club, and it was early enough. January is not that early, okay? We were still in the developing phase of our season. We were performing better by that point, but Brentford was still much too much for us, and I think we're still at least one more year away from being able to hang with some Premier League clubs. Meanwhile, the Carabao Cup was also a first-round exit, hence the lack of prize money last season, or this season that we just finished. Biggest win, 4-1 against Ipswich Town, including a banger right at the end to seal it. 2-2 was the match to remember against Hull. I would say the Derby County one was the match to remember, but hey, to each his own. Goal of the season going to Lanahan Penry's memorable goal as he runs around inside his own half before hitting an accurate finish from 23 yards. We were already noting the finances. Recently, we went from regional to regional. We did not pick up drastically. However, the board review about objectives did say that we improved drastically. So we might have just been inside that 2-star, and I think we were just inside. We've probably drawn much closer to 2.5-star. We'll see soon enough. Harsh year, average rating, not topping 7. Anywhere. Average-ish performances, considering how the season was. It just about worked out. We still apparently ultimately ran a 4-2-3-1 more often than not, as the assistant coach was doing his thing, but really did get us going with that 5 at the back formation and getting a little more control of the ball and being a bit more counter-attacky. But Lanahan Penry is the only one to grab 10 goals for us. And I don't think that's true. I think his backup had exactly 10. Steve Walker was the fans' player of the season and the young player of the season. With that kind of rating, considering how the team was, yeah, that makes sense. Most league appearances by a player went back and forth all season long. Chris Webb holding that record right now. 439 appearances, which is definitely a lot. Most league goals by a player. Lanahan Penry has reached 150. And there you go. There's the other one. Redknapp, 1 appearance behind Chris Webb as it stands right now. All-time best 11 for the club. Sam Julian comfortably between the sticks. Mortland and Atkins still the defensive mids. Ashley and Archie Jones now occupying both of those front 2 spots, making it a little more complicated. And Lanahan Penry's still holding down the right wing one, with Bick holding down on top at Kunle. Certainly in the mix. Did we have anyone new this season? So Rossini joins the bench as the only change to the first 11 this year. We're going to get a little bonus in cash. Our collective bonus payout for the entire year, which I had boosted. It's 3.4 million, but we're going to receive 5.55 million in solidarity payment for participating in the championship. If memory serves me correctly, last season we had barely made it into the 2-star range. In fact, we were in this kind of range here where you see that crossover between 1.5 stars and 2 stars. Also, if memory served me correctly, and it would seem that it's the right place, we were below 1 or 2 National League sides last season, and we were only above 1 or 2 League 2 sides. And that seems to be the same position that we were in last year for this year, where you're seeing that crossover point. Somehow Leyton Orient, surprisingly enough, as big of a club as they are, a League 1 side finds themselves way down at the edge of this one too. That being said, the gap to 2.5 stars is now just above us. So we have climbed. It says that we've only made a small climb, and kind of based on that, in terms of number of teams overtaken, it's certainly not long. I mean, we're basically from here to here. It's one page that we have traversed up, but in the grand scheme of things, that is progress. We are now ahead of all the National League teams, finally, and we are ahead of most of the League 2 sides. There are still a few ahead of us, and they are nearly, we're nearly there. We're nearly to that 2.5 stars, and we are right on the brink of hitting that 2.5 stars, and then we're right on the brink of hitting national reputation soon thereafter. We are in and amongst the League 1 sides now, barely. We were barely hitting League 2 a year ago. Now we're finally hitting that League 1 type reputation. We've nearly eclipsed all of the League 2 in reputation. Okay, fine. Charlton's, up there, and Birmingham and Millwall, the team's going down to League 1. Reading is the next closest. We still have ways to go to catch up just to the bottom end of the championship, but we are drawing closer. And again, if we go into this season and just simply survive comfortably as predicted as, like a mid-table type team, a better performance a year from now should see a larger boost than what we got in the past year. And I would think we will be comfortably in that 2.5 star range next season. And hey, look where this would put us, would be, upper end of League 1, approaching league championship status. And that's all I can ask for at this point. At the top, it looks like this, with Liverpool, Man City adding to their reputation, 4 worldwide 5-star clubs and 4 worldwide 4.5 star clubs. Quick funny story for you. So I was just watching Olympic soccer, football for most of you. Yes, I know. We call it soccer in the US. Okay, fine. Let's move on from that detail. US U23s versus Guinea U23s, and they had an Kamara playing, and I thought of our old player Omar Kamara, who has played plenty at a national team and or U23 type level, but of course this is a new gen. This is not a real life player, this Omar Kamara, but just found it so interesting. He has 50 caps. That's national team. That's not U20 caps. That's national team caps. And even though he was with us for 7 years and had 151 appearances with us, out of the 221 lifetime senior appearances that he's had, we're not even on his favorite clubs. It's the 2 clubs that came after. Apparently he's moved on from his days of youth. Former frontman Donnell Traynor is now the best player in the league, playing striker for Stoke City. We don't have anyone near the top of that list. In fact, how far down are we? I mean, we do have a couple players that are certainly decent, but Sam Julian comes in at an okay position. I mean, he's halfway down the list. There's Kintafera, there's Sam Brooks, and there's Adekunle coming in right there amongst those two. Interesting to see that is their place. That's McDonald. And as we are now just a couple days away from the opening game of the season, so we have made it that far. We've gotten all the way through the off-season in one episode, something that seemed far-fetched in the past, as it was often taking me a couple episodes to get through. So happy to do that comfortably and get in. And we are right where we were a year ago. We were picked 23rd by the media. We are picked 23rd again. However, Last year, I think our odds were 350 to 1 or 250 to 1. It's 100 to 1 this year. So we are much more in and amongst the rest of the league. I mean, 50 to 1, like one step above in terms of odds, gets you all the way to Reading in 14th. So we are right there, very close, but we're still below the level of the league, but much, much, much closer to actually being pretty decent comparatively. And you could almost see from this, you could punch above to, 12th or 9th, maybe to Fulham in 8th, but I doubt it, especially as they're probably not facing deductions this season. But Wolves, who were relegated from the Premier, look like they're going to be bouncing right back as the favorites. Stoke just behind them, and Everton, who were favorites last year and ended up one spot above us, 14th, right? Sunderland. But then the other two relegated sides are Huddersfield and Middlesbrough. As for the promoted sides from League One catching up to us now, Luton Town. Luton Town 13th. They're picked to just go right into comfort, surprising as that is. Preston North End is picked to go 16th. And Burton Albion is the only team picked behind us, and well behind us. They appear to be far below the level, similar to what we were a year ago. Little surprised that we haven't picked up our spot, but we were looking at a scenario at the end of the year where prediction was to avoid relegation again this season. So it was pretty clear from that our odds were going to be low. But we have gone through the offseason without losing any players so far. Joseph and Walker are the two players that the bids are coming in hot and heavy and frequent. The good news for me at this point is it's a lot easier to hang on to players and sign long-term contracts and keep them around. I've signed a lot of new contracts. We've really bumped up our salary as a result, but a lot of multi-year contracts, 3, 4, 5-year contracts. The fee that we're going to command for giving up one of our better players is going to be significantly more. We're talking 5 million, 20 million for our best players to leave us. And that's absolutely a good sign. That's put us in the positive direction, because one of the contracts I saw signed involved upgrading the training facilities, and even though we've got 5 million, the board doesn't want to do it right now because they are worried that we don't have enough money. So yeah, it looks like we are in a situation that suggests that it's going to take selling a player and cashing in 5 million, or getting half of it right away or something like that, to get the training facilities on the go. We do have a tax bill for this year, but it's very small. It's $250,000. Very small in the grand scheme of things anyway. $250,000 is all with the money we made last year. All right, folks, but that is our preseason done and behind us, and we are ready to get into a new season. And in theory, especially as it's our second year championship and ultimately the same players. The only difference is I've added a third tactic resembling the same formation as the last one, but getting a bit more balanced and offensive and pushing up higher. Makes it really easy to shift between those two. You can get defensive and hit on the counter, or you can try to play on the front foot and take the game to other teams without having to change your system as a whole. You're just changing your style, and I very much like that one. Rossini, Webb, and Hassel seem to have good relationships amongst each other, though Lyons and McCartney late last season decided that they don't gel well. We, of course, do have Christopher Joseph, who's kind of ticked off and not wanting a new contract, and I think we will be okay. We will be okay with these guys. Redknapp did have a contract extension automatically triggered because of the number of games he played last season, so I was going to let him go, but he's back. McFadden has been retained as well, so none of the senior squad players are gone at this stage. Just 6 players at lower levels. For the U21s, a lot of guys aged up to replace the 4 that went out. There was more than 4 that came up, so they've got a good healthy squad size and a handful of reserves, which you really don't want that to happen much because that's going to stunt their growth a little bit, but For the most part, these guys are definitely going to play. Only a couple over 21s means eligibility is not a problem. You could have one over 21 goalkeeper and 5 over 21s in the squad. But as for the U18s, that's it, folks. That's all that's left. We don't even have a first 11. There are 10 players left. Remember, we only took in 3 this year, as there just was not quality. Even now, you're looking at this going, this guy's going to be out soon enough. Defensive mid, maybe not. Depends on depth, but a little disappointing that this is what's happened to our U18s here with the state of things. But we're still, oh gosh, that dropped fast. We had 5.25 million last month, and it's dropped to 4.3 just like that. Yowzer. We will be, of course, bringing money in soon with home games, league games, all coming here in moments. QPR on the road will be up first. Birmingham City right. Carabao Cup. I was like, they just got relegated. Right, Carabao Cup. That's our first round Carabao Cup. That's a good one for us. It's at home against a team that just got relegated. Yeah, we should be favorites for that. We should actually get beyond one round of one of our elimination tournaments. I like that possibility, but we're already looking at 3.5 million in losses this season, and we're like just getting started. That's freaking me out. Is my payroll that much? It's at 7 million. It was 5 last year, something like that. It's grown by 2.5 million from where we left off last season. It's grown by almost 50%. That's probably why we are struggling financially at the moment, and we might actually see a negative balance for the first time in 1.5 billion years. But that's going to do it for this episode. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there. Bye for now.